Good evening, everyone. I, Sandhya Kaimal, along with your host, along with my colleague Ling Fang, welcome you to session 4, Mindfulness and Compassion of the webinar series, Mindful Living, Thriving Beyond COVID-19. Today's session is an exceptional session of 60 minutes which we would kickstart with an introduction and overview, followed by a special session by our guest speaker, Ms. Michell Wong. Then we will keep the floor open for Q&A, and then later on we would end the session with a simple SIP self-compassion pause. We would love to hear from you. Hence, you can actually scan the QR code. Alternatively, we would also share the feedback link for you to download the form and share your inputs. We really value your feedback. Hence, please do fill in your feedback at the end of the session. You can also connect with us through our different social media platforms through Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. The webinar series has been brought to you by Social Innovation Park, also known as SIP. So SIP is a not-for-profit social enterprise founded in 2006 in Singapore with the whole vision of co-building a more inclusive, sustainable and mindful world together. We seek to educate, empower and enhance people, public and private sector through our different platforms of change. We recently launched SIP United Cares, which is a platform that we have actually created to support people, businesses, and government to share and care effectively during and beyond COVID-19. The webinar series is an effort to help people, businesses, and communities to thrive during as well as beyond COVID-19. Each session has been actually themed around mindfulness as the concept, wherein we try to seek to help people achieve both personal and professional goals through our webinar series. Our today's session is on mindfulness and compassion. When we talk about compassion, there's one quote that I would like to highlight is from Mr. Dalai Lama, wherein he says that compassion and love are necessities and not luxury, because we believe that without compassion, humanity cannot survive. If that is the case, why is it that we don't practice compassion that much? I would also like to support this with a lot of research which has been done, which says that compassion can actually enhance health as well as it can also strengthen relationships. Which then leads to another question is that how is it that compassion can actually enhance our health? Recently, I came across this article which highlighted that compassion can actually enhance immunity. Yes, you heard it right. It can enhance immunity which is actually required in today's times, wherein we are all fighting against this deadly virus. So that takes me to the next question as to do you believe that compassion is a skill that you're born with, or it is something that you're acquired with, or it could be both? We could actually have a poll. Can you quickly share your thoughts on what you feel, whether compassion is something that you are born with or you could acquire, or it could be both? I think we could end the poll. Yes. So I think 69% of them have said that it's something that a person is born with, or it could also be acquired. You're right. Actually, compassion is something some people are gifted and they have compassion, which is innate, whereas for few, it is a skill that you can acquire. So the good news is, how can we acquire that skill? Definitely, we can actually see how mindfulness as a practice, because studies have shown mindfulness as a practice can actually help you be more compassionate towards self as well as towards others around. With that, I would like to highlight our today's session, which is on mindfulness and compassion. We have divided into two parts, wherein the first part, our guest speaker would be recapping and reviewing what we had covered in the past two sessions, which we started off with what in mindfulness is, and then we moved on to how mindfulness could be applied to stress and how we could use mindfulness as a tool to manage stress. Whereas today's session, and then later on, we would also try to revise some of the techniques that we practice. In the second part, we would actually have Michelle highlighting what mindfulness and how mindfulness as a practice could help you build compassion. Without much ado, I would like to invite Michelle to share her experience and share her inputs on mindfulness and compassion. Michelle is Singapore's current reigning public speaking champion, whereas she's also been a mindfulness practitioner for over 10 years. She believes that through mindfulness, she can actually benefit many, at the same time can help people can help people meditate at any time, anywhere, even amidst the grind. Without much ado, please, I welcome you, Michelle. I hand over to you.
Hello, everyone. It's so good to see all of you here again. Now, can you please type in one word how you're feeling right now in our chat? Just type in one word how you're feeling right now. Nice, you're relaxed, happy, yay, Abigail, good. Neutral, yes. Vexed up. Oh, you call what happened? Lethargic, I can understand. Excited, yay. There should be more. Oh, I see Sastri. I'm glad to see you. A little bit tired. You're feeling great, Penny. That's awesome. Fantastic, Jennifer. Relaxed. Yes, relax. Both Anne and as Norbert Henriques. Tired, Oilian. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope that this session will be able to make those who are tired, who are lethargic, or even hungry a little bit better, or even vexed up. Now, I want to start off with a recap on what it is that we have learned so far in the past couple of sessions. So we started off with what mindfulness is. Those of you who remember what mindfulness is, can you please raise your hand? You can raise your hand by putting the reactions below. Yeah, something like that. Or the reactions below is sort of like a thumbs up. You can put a thumbs up. Awesome. Yes, Jennifer remembers. Mindfulness is, if you remember, mindfulness is the practice of gently welcoming. What do we welcome? Thoughts. Thoughts is one. Emotions and sensations. Gently welcoming all of these. And what is the essence of mindfulness? The essence of mindfulness is, if you remember it, you can say it out loud, even though I can't hear you. The essence of mindfulness is awareness. And what is awareness? Awareness is the knowing. For instance, at this point in time, you know that you're hearing my voice, and that knowing is awareness. So we have these three things, okay? Now for the techniques that we've learned in the past couple of sessions, one of the techniques is to focus on our breath. So all we need to do is just to place our awareness on our breath. And you feel the air going in, the air going out. That's it. And the second technique is to count our breaths. We count one in breath as one out breath is two, and you count all the way to 21. And if you want to, once you've reached 21, you can start from one again. So that's the second technique, but they're both focusing on the breath. The third technique would be the body scanning. Do you remember the body scanning practice? So we place our awareness from the top of our heads and we gradually feel the different sensations in different parts. And another part to this practice could also be just to relax the different parts of our body. So 3 different techniques. Now today we will review one of them, and that is the body scanning. Are we ready to do this practice together? Yes? Thank you. So what we need to do is to sit in a comfortable position. You can be seated on your chair. You can be seated on your floor. Just choose a comfortable spot. And you want to keep your spine loosely straight. Loosely straight. So in other words, not overly straight so you feel too much of a strain, and not so soft that you're just slouching. So keep your spines loosely straight. You can close your eyes if you want to. If you feel more comfortable with your eyes open, you can do that too. Now, bring your awareness gently to the top of your head. Feel the sensations at the top of your head. Now bring your awareness to your forehead. Feel the different sensations. It can be a tingling, and you can gradually relax the muscles there. Now bring your awareness to your face. It can be your eyebrows, your cheeks, your mouth, your jaw. Feel the sensations there. And relax. Bring your awareness to your neck and shoulders. Feel the sensations there. It can be tightness. It can be pain. Just feel the sensations and relax. Bring your awareness to both your arms, all the way down to your fingertips. Relax. Bring your awareness to your torso, your chest, back, abdomen, hips. Feel the sensations there. If you feel tightness anywhere, just relax. Now bring your awareness down to your thighs. Relax the muscles there. And down to your calves. All the way to your feet and the tips of your toes. Relax. Now say to yourself, I am happy with who I am. I am happy with who I am. I am happy with who I am. I am happy with where I am. I am happy with where I am. I'm happy with where I am. I am happy with what I have. I am happy with what I have. I am happy with what I have. Okay. Now those of you with your eyes closed can open your eyes. How is that? That was a review of the body scanning practice that we learned before. And today, we've also added a little bit of contemplation. We've added the bit about being happy with who you are, being happy with where you are, and being happy with what you have. So in all of the different mindfulness practices and techniques that we've learned in the previous sessions, we are connecting ourselves with our inner peace, the inner peace and quiet. Now, with today, with this practice, you are actually connecting to joy. Did you feel joy just now? If you did, press 1. So with the practice just now, it is really connecting to the inner joy. Thank you so much. So thank you. I'm so glad that you've connected with that inner joy. And it is such a beautiful thing, isn't it? And it is actually something that we have within us all the time. But sometimes we forget. Sometimes we lose our connection to it. So I hope that with the practices from today, you will be able to reconnect with that sweetness inside wherever and wherever you are. So today's topic is on mindfulness and loving kindness and compassion. So how is joy related to loving kindness, compassion? Well, loving kindness, compassion, or loving kindness itself, loving kindness is a wish for everyone to be happy. And that kind of effort that you put in to achieve that goal of having people being happy, that's loving kindness. And compassion is that wish for everyone to be free from suffering. That is compassion. And also compassion is the effort that you put in to help alleviate other people's suffering. So we have loving kindness and compassion together. And these two, the first one would be the longing for happiness. And the second one is the longing to be free from suffering. They are both really natural, innate wishes that every single being has. Don't you think so? Yeah? Think about it. When you blink your eyes, with every blink, is it looking for happiness? Yes, isn't it? Can you imagine? Like nowadays, I've been using Zoom so much. I'm staring and staring at the camera so much, and then my eyes get dry and I get headaches. So when I blink or when I look away to rest my eyes, it is seeking happiness, and it is also seeking to be free from the kind of discomfort, unpleasant feelings, and suffering. And sometimes when we sit on a chair, we will cross one leg over the other, and then after that, we'll switch over. We'll put one leg up and put the other leg down. Isn't it also looking for happiness and avoiding suffering? So with every blink we make, with every breath we take, with every action that we take, it is all based on these two wishes. So with that, you understand that you have this loving kindness and compassion. So going back to the earlier poll, all of you were correct. You think you're born with it? Yes, you are. If you think you need to acquire it, you can strengthen that wish. And if you said that it's both, of course you're right. So for the next mindfulness practice that I'm going to lead you in, I'd like you to connect to that feeling of warmth and tenderness toward yourself. That is, of wanting to be happy and not wanting to suffer. Okay, let's practice this together. Same thing, sit comfortably wherever you are. Now keep your spines loosely straight and relax the muscles in your body. Again, you can close your eyes if you prefer to, or you can keep your eyes open if you're more comfortable that way. And just rest like how you'd rest when you've just completed some chores. And all you need to do is observe your mind. If a thought comes, watch it coming. Feeling comes, let it come. Just watch. Now bring your awareness to the top of your head. And instead of feeling the sensations, recognize how good it is to have this body. Bring your awareness to your forehead, your face, the back of your head. Feel the sense of being alive and well. Bring your awareness to your shoulders, arms, hands, all the way to your fingertips. Think how nice it is that I have this body, that I am strong, healthy, capable. Bring your awareness to your torso, your chest, your back, your abdomen. Feel the warmth, the joy of being alive and well. Now bring your awareness to your hips, down to your thighs, calves, all the way to the tips of your toes. And think, how nice if I can always enjoy this basic feeling of being alive, the sense of well-being. Wish from the bottom of your heart, may I have happiness and the causes of happiness. And now just rest your mind. Okay, if you had your eyes closed, you can open them now. So that is an introduction to a technique that helps you connect to that feeling of wishing to be happy. That is connecting to the joy inside. And that is really feeling or wishing that you can be happy. You can also add the wish to be free from suffering. They come together. So think about this. Just as I wish to have happiness, so too does every single other being, isn't it? Just as I wish to avoid suffering or pain, so too does every other single being. Whenever you're able to connect to this innate feeling of yours and then think that what's happening in other people's minds is actually similar to what's happening in yours, then you can gradually expand your practice. When you expand your practice, what you're doing is you can start off first with yourself, and then you expand it to people you love and care for. And from there, people you're neutral towards. People you're neutral towards can simply be a passerby or somebody you don't know, but you happen to see at the bus stop all the time. And from there, you can also go on and expand this feeling of understanding, of wishing for them to have happiness and to be free from suffering. You can extend that wish to even those you don't like. And from there, if you're able to do so, you extend that wish to all beings. And that is part of the practice. Of course, you don't need to do all of these yet, because in order to develop this compassion, this loving kindness and compassion, we do it step by step. And we always start off with the self, followed by others. So what we've done earlier on is practicing loving kindness and compassion towards ourselves. Now, if you want to try out doing it on others, it's a little bit different. Shall we try it out? Yes? We will try this out on thinking about others. So again, same thing. Keep your spines loosely straight. Again, you can close your eyes if you're more comfortable with that, or keep them open. It's up to you. Relax the muscles in your body. And relax just as you would after you have completed some big task. Just relax. Simply look at your mind. If there's nothing, just rest. If a thought or emotion arises, just be aware. Now, think of someone or something you feel affection or love for. It could be a pet, a child, a parent or grandparent, a friend, anyone, anything. Hold that person or thing in your mind. Feel the warmth and affection that you have for this person or pet. Wish that he or she feels the warmth you have towards him or her. Now, imagine that this person or thing you've chosen is feeling sad or perhaps in pain. Feel that deep wish to help him or her. feel that tenderness inside and wish from the bottom of your heart that he or she be free from whatever suffering there is. Now let go of the object and just rest your mind in awareness. Okay, please open your eyes if you had your eyes closed. How was it? Tell me what you felt. Even if it's sleepy, just put it down. Put it down in the chat group. How it was for you. If you fell asleep, let me know. If you felt that genuine feeling of connection, you can also let me know. Thank you, Eileen. A good rest. That's nice, isn't it? Almost fell asleep. Yeah, I saw that, Kwa. I saw that. How about the rest of you? How was that? Yes. Yes, Anne, there will be times whereby you would feel the emotions. And the thing about loving kindness and compassion, it is a feeling, and you want to connect to that feeling. I've seen people who actually, like, they would have tears come to their eyes when they're really immersing in feeling it. More at peace internally, definitely. Yes. Yes. Are there any other responses to this? Yes, Penny. Kwa was talking about insomnia, isn't it? It was relaxing, but after some time lost the object. Okay, it doesn't matter. Then all we need to do when you realize that you have lost the object, then just bring your attention back and think again and feel again. And if you happen to fall asleep, then so be it. Okay, so the beauty of this practice is manifold. First, it opens up a different way of relating to others. How? Because when we acknowledge that whatever's going on in other people's mind is very similar to what's going on in mine, this wish to be happy and to be free from suffering, you will come to realize that you are not alone in your struggles, isn't it? And when you remember that similarity between yourself and everyone else, you also begin to see that you don't need to be frightened of anyone. Why? Because we're all the same. And that's that feeling of understanding and empathy. This practice also opens your heart to others and keeps you from being caught up with me, my problems, what I want, what you're not giving me. It helps you let go of that kind of suffering too. And in a way, you will find that within this practice, you will find that there is a certain sense of freedom and strength in that realization of this common thing that you share with everyone else. So let us recap. For today, what are the techniques that we've learned? First, loving kindness and compassion towards the self. Second, loving kindness and compassion towards others. Today's practice, we started off with someone we love and care for. So remember, in this series of the webinar, we're just doing a quick introduction. We will not have the time to take you through all the different practices, but at least you get a taste and you can pick the one that really speaks to you and try it out. All right? So that's loving kindness towards others. And of course, we also use the body scanning method to connect to joy, to connect to contentment. Remember the three things that you tell yourselves as you're doing the body scan. You tell yourself, I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm happy with what I have. So when would be a good time for you to do these practices? Well, like I said before, first, before you sleep, when you wake, right? It could also be when you're seated properly on a cushion or on a chair. You can do that, what we call formal practice. And that's informal practice. Informal practice, you can do it anytime, anywhere. For instance, if you're shopping at NTUC, right? So you can just, as you're walking in NTUC, marvel at being alive, at being able to see all those goods on display, at being able to pick up these goods, at being able to get them easily. All right? And so with that, remember, practice as much as you can. You don't have to make it very long duration, just a couple of minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes, short times, many times. And with that, you'll be able to build a habit. Okay, and so now it's Q&A time. If you have any questions, do feel free to unmute your mic and talk to me, or you can just type it in the chat. And while you're thinking of a question to ask, I would like to address some of the questions that I didn't get to talk about from our last session. Okay, let me take a look. That was a question from, let me see, Sanjay. Is Sanjay here? Let me see if Sanjay is here.
Yes, I do see Sanjay.
Sanjay, are you here? You see Sanjay?
Yes.
Okay, so Sanjay's question here is, mentally or in terms of attitude, I can manage stress, because our topic in the last session was about stress. So he says he can manage stress, but it rarely affects him mentally. Yeah. But when it comes to the physical impact of stress, he says that he cannot control it. So it seems as if when you say that you're able to control the mental impacts. Yes, Sanjay, are you speaking?
Exactly the same way, don't say no.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, so did I get your question right? Yes?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Right.
But
So,
I was so relaxed right now, I almost went to sleep.
that's excellent. And that is actually, it affects your body, isn't it? The moment you do these different practices, it also helps with your body. And that is why Sandhya actually said at the start, isn't it? That it can actually raise our immune system, because the moment you're not feeling like you're not in the fight or flight state, your body will not be coming up with so much cortisol, and it actually helps you in terms of your immunity. Okay, so I guess you can use these different types of techniques to also help relax the tension in your body. But I want to remind you that oftentimes when people say that they're able to deal with it mentally or emotionally, but physically there are symptoms, it simply means that you haven't quite faced the stress. Yeah, it is sort of like you're caught up in this flight mode. You're either suppressing it or denying its existence. And that is why stress will manifest itself as within your body. And sometimes, if it gets more serious or longer term, it might also manifest itself as different types of illnesses. So what we need to do is to use these different techniques to help us face these different emotions, and also to help us be aware of our bodies and the tension that we tend to hold within our bodies. For me, for instance, when I get tense and nervous, I would get stomach cramps, and that happens quite often. In fact, if it gets more serious, I'd even get diarrhea. All right. So I hope I've answered your question. Yes?
Yes, you have. Thank you.
Thank you. And the other question, of course, if you guys have any new questions, especially about the techniques today, do type it in, or just feel free to unmute your mic, okay? The other question here is from, I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrongly, Yotimme, is that correct? I know you're here. Can you tell me how to pronounce your name correctly? Yotimme Majumdar.
Yeah, it's Jyotirmay.
That's a Sanskrit name for the sun.
Oh, how beautiful.
Jyotirmaya. I mean, it's something which I think Sandhya can probably relate. This is Jyoti, something which is full of light. So it's basically synonym for the sun.
Yes, you definitely give life to everything and everyone here. So the question
that's what
that
I
you
try.
asked.
And I to some extent, what Sanjay just mentioned, yes, with our life, we do have a lot of stresses, and 90% of the time we try to control it. But as you have rightly said, that it does, like, even though it's a psychological thing we try to control, but it does affect somatically, like the body as well. Okay, I don't get the cramps and all, but sometimes I do get acidity with that.
Yes, because if you ignore it or you run away from it, it will still be there. There's something that hasn't been addressed, and so you would hold certain tension in your body. It could be anywhere. Like for me, it can also be around my neck and shoulders. And sometimes you might not know it. You might also be tensing it, and you're not sure. So when you do the body scanning, you're also addressing the effect of tension within your body. Yeah.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, sometimes I do get that sometimes, that when you try to, you don't know, unknowingly it has been affecting you. So when you try to turn your head when you are working on the computer for a few hours and all, then suddenly you see that it's a pain in the neck for some time, but you relax a bit and then it goes.
Exactly. I'm glad you see how this can work and how you can use this to help you. And so the thing is, when we talk about mindfulness practice, the key word there is mindful, isn't it? And to be mindful, what did we say? It means to be aware. So what we're doing here right now, as we're beginning on this journey, is actually to be mindful, be aware of how we're dealing with these different stresses and emotions and working with it. And ultimately, we will be able to connect with our mind's most beautiful qualities through this mindfulness practices.
Thanks a lot, Michelle.
You're most welcome. That's a question here from Hui Jun. How can mindfulness be taught to children too? It depends on how old the children are. If they are really, really young, it's really quite difficult to get them to settle down. But I would say we can first start off with sound. And I haven't talked about using sound. So at the beginning, when I talked about different techniques, different meditation or mindfulness practice techniques, I talked about how there would be mindfulness practices with object. In other words, there's an object of focus and then without object. So for children, same thing, you use an object and the object might be sound. You can have like some kind of a singing bowl, like those Tibetan singing bowls, right? And you can just hit it and then they'll hear the ding sound, isn't it? So all you need to do is ask the children to just listen to that sound, and when they have their arms raised and have them listen to the sound all the way until they cannot hear it anymore, then they put their hands down. So what you're actually training them to do is to focus on that sound. And that could be a beginning practice. And depending on how old they are, so we start off with sound, and after that it might be starting off with any form. Just look at it. If you forget, come back to it, and that's it. But form, maybe like the physical visual form, may be a bit harder. I find sound easier for younger kids.
Just to add on to Michelle's point, Michelle is working with us on this Lead with Nature program, wherein we reach out to students, and we've actually piloted this project with one of the schools. Currently, due to the circuit breaker, we've not been able to have sessions in person, but we've received very good feedback in terms of how we are using mindfulness as a concept to help them achieve focus, discipline, and at the same time help them be able to manage and cope with stress.
Yeah. So we have started by talking about stress, for instance, right? How to cope with stress. And ultimately, these mindfulness practices are very useful for coping with any kinds of negative emotions. And the negative emotions can be anger, jealousy, hatred, depression, any of these emotions. So I've talked about mindfulness with an object of focus, isn't it? So when we get used to being able to still our minds, etc., then you can go on to use the object of our focus would be our emotions. So at the beginning, it might be hard, and you might want to choose a smaller emotion. But if you want to learn more about that, of course, it depends on what other webinars SIP will be arranging for you on mindfulness. Oh, I see something else. How cool. Let's see.
We have one question from Alina. Would you want to unmute your microphone, and we would love to hear your voice at the same time, see your face as well, Alina.
Yes, yes, Alina, where are you? Where are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Michelle. Hi, everyone. Thanks for sharing. So, my question is, actually, how this mindfulness practices can be put in practice to reframe situations that I think some of us might find ourselves in, be it out of control. We feel that we're out of control, especially with facing so much uncertainty right now during this COVID situation.
That's a very, very good question. Thank you, Alina, so much for your question. So when we find ourselves in something that is undesirable, you will remember that from the last time I talked about fight or flight, isn't it? So whenever we meet with any situation, we're always trying to assess what's going on. And if it's something we don't like, if it's something that's unpleasant, something new, something that perhaps spells danger, we only have these two responses, isn't it? We fight it meaning deny it, hate it, try and change it, or we run away from it. So in mindfulness, what we're doing is we're actually facing it meaning learning to accept it. And from there, then we can use a different way to respond to it, because oftentimes when we're in an undesirable situation, like what you said, undesirable. So straight away there is aversion. I hate this. Why me? Why does it have to happen? And then that actually adds on to our suffering. So what we can do is we've got to firstly pause, accept, and understand that things happen. And these things are really out of our control. So accept that, and then once you are responding to this situation, not from fight or flight, but rather from a place of clarity, which is the practice that we talked about in one of our first session. If you're responding to these from a place of clarity, you won't be filled with aversion, you won't be filled with frustration, and you can better respond. Better respond simply means if it's something you can do about it, you can take actions. If it's something you cannot do about it, then you learn to just accept it and see what else can be done. Does it make sense, Alina?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing, Michelle.
Thank you. And Fiona, would you like to tell us about your questions? Oh, NLP. You can unmute your mic and just summarize your question for us, Fiona. Are you able to unmute your mic?
Hi.
Hi, Fiona.
Hi. Thanks for sharing. Anyway, I just want to know, like, what are the simple techniques beside loving kindness towards yourself and towards others that we can practice at home right now? I mean, in the midst of a lot of noises and news and global crisis for all human beings and such difficult time, how do you stay focused and calm your mind? And is neuro-linguistic programming, I was just wondering, part of mindfulness as well, that you tell your mind, you reprogram, rewire your mind to be more positive, stay optimistic, things will go better. But I don't think, I mean, all these are like techniques, but what are really some practical techniques that we can do at home right now?
Thank you, Fiona, for your question. It is a difficult time, and it is easy to get caught up in all of the bad news. Mm-hmm. It's easy to also really get overwhelmed. So the thing is, firstly, we've got to learn to accept instead of being caught up in our aversion. Aversion simply means I don't want this, I don't like this, how can I stop it? Because the more you get caught up in that, the more suffering you're creating actually, more so than the actual bad news itself. So the first thing is really to accept that this is happening in this world, and this is the situation that we're in right now. And rest in that acceptance rather than in in the aversion of it. And from there, then we can talk about other techniques. And if you want to talk about practical techniques, all of the techniques that I've been talking about in the past couple of sessions and in today's session, they can all be useful. If we connect to loving kindness and compassion, for instance, we will find that it is easier to face other people. It is easier to face our own suffering because you realize I'm not alone. And so I will bear this. And there's another technique that is, you can think that I'm feeling this pain, and I hope that this pain would represent the pain of other people's suffering. And in doing so, I hope I can somehow alleviate that somewhat. So that is one technique. Other techniques would be just techniques to calm your mind so that you can better respond to whatever is happening. Techniques to calm your mind would be either focusing on breath so that you can have some kind of space between whatever is happening right now in front of you. And then once you have some space, again, you're not simply reacting, but rather you have the time and space and room to respond better. Does it make sense, Fiona?
Yes, thank you,
No
Michelle.
problem. So always remember that if you want to talk about telling your mind something, like telling yourself that, oh, everything's okay, everything is okay, that in itself is not really a technique. It is just like putting a Band-Aid. So you have a wound here, and then you put a Band-Aid over it. What we're doing here is when we're fully facing what's happening, there is a certain measure of courage in it. It's not about running away. It's not about suppressing it. It's fully being. And that's why mindfulness, being present, whatever emotion comes, comes. You feel it, you can address it. Because whatever negative emotions that we have, if you think about it, or even stress, it's just like a young child who needs your attention. So this child is here saying, oh, mommy, mommy, or whoever, right? It's like, oh, look at me, look at what I'm doing. But you're like, okay, it's like, go away, I'm busy, I want to look at something else. The child would find all kinds of means and ways to get your attention. It is the same with stress or with any emotions. So you have got to be compassionate to this emotion too. So you've got to, oh, okay, stress, or okay, anxiety, I'm here for you, right? I'm here for you, and that's it. It's not about following it, but rather about simply being present for it. That's all. And gradually you'll find that that feeling would feel like it has been acknowledged, and somehow it doesn't have so much urgency and strength anymore. But that is another practice. All right, Fiona, I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
Sandhya, do we have any more time?
No, I think we've overshot our Q&A. I'm glad that we had so many questions and we could address all the questions. And apologies for the technical glitches in the past. I hope we were able to address all your questions today. Maybe before we move on to the next segment, I'll just take a minute to share about the e-journal that we've created. So we've created the mindfulness practice e-journal, which the link of which we had shared in the last session, and we've also emailed it to y'all. So this e-journal is something that we've curated because it could help you in your journey of practicing mindfulness. We've divided into 3 segments wherein it's the week 1. We can move to the next. So wherein it talks about the simple tips of how we could practice mindfulness daily, to then moving to what all kind of exercises that you could do. It's a very interesting self reflective journal that you could actually fill in your questions and your answers. This is an editable version, so you don't have to take printout. You could directly key in your answers. So something like this, like what mindfulness is or isn't, you could actually share your thoughts and keep track of your progress during the whole process. So it's got around 10 exercises which you could actually, simple questions to share your insights, your feelings, could help you in this whole process. Thank you, Ling Fang, for sharing the screen. So now moving on to the next, we've also shared it with the group so that in case you've missed out on getting a copy, you can actually download it today. While we move on to the next segment, that is the SIP self-compassion pause. As we all know, today's session, we try to focus on what compassion is and why compassion is required to create a better world. And this is indeed the reason why we are actually supporting this whole cause, because we want to create a movement to create a better world, which is in line with our vision of co-building a more inclusive, sustainable, and mindful world. With that, I would invite you to participate in this exercise with me. We could either do this with your eyes open. You could actually place your hand on your chest, on your heart, or you could place it on your lap. Take a minute, few minutes to feel the warmth of your hand, and please experience the breath that flows in and flows out. Let us take this minute to observe and experience compassion towards ourselves first, and then expand it to the ones around us. Let us seek blessings and also show our compassion towards the COVID workers, both our healthcare as well as sanitation workers, who are actually for their unyielding support and efforts during these trying times. Let us reaffirm ourselves that this time shall too pass. With that, let's reinforce this thought that we are all in it together and we shall get through it together. I would like to now request you to actually turn on your videos, because I would want everyone to participate in this sign language that we want to do, because if we do it together, it actually shows our say solidarity, our compassion towards this whole cause. At the same time, it can create a positive ripple effect. So can I request all the participants to turn on your videos if possible? Okay, so we could do it as a simple circle. Together could be with the two thumbs up, wherein each finger stands for individuals coming together. So we are in it together, and we shall get through. So when I say get through, is imagine you have to start from a starting point and then you need to get through a destination. So we, again a circle, shall get through it together. Can we repeat it once again? We are in it together and we shall get through it together. Thank you so much for your participation today. We are at the end of our session. Before we move on, I would like to quickly share that our next session is on Monday, wherein our topic for next session is on effective online communication. Our guest speaker would be Michelle again. We believe that in today's day and age, because we are living in the new world, wherein having an effective and mindful communication is the key. So how is it that we could learn from Michelle in terms of how effective we could communicate virtually, at the same time gain some tips for effective online communication? Before we end the session, I would request each one of you to fill in the feedback form, which has already been shared with you. And we'll look forward to hearing from you. Lastly, I hope this session was really very helpful, and you take this as an opportunity to commit to this whole purpose of actually building compassion towards yourself, and as well as supporting others as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Michelle, for your time and your effort today. We look forward to your next session on Monday.